former Chief of Indian Army and Vice Chairman of the National Disaster Management Authority, General Vij, Present Vice Chairman Dr. Shashidhar Reddy, Ajit Doval ji, the founder, Director of the Vivekananda International Foundation, General Sani, Vijay Dev ji, the Divisional Commissioner and Secretary of the State, Delhi State Disaster Management Authority, senior officers from the Delhi administration, from the Indian Army, and all other distinguished participants. Focusing on the situation in Delhi, following the collapse of the Lalita Park building in November 15, 2010, the committee was appointed, headed by Justice Lokeshwar Prasad, to go into the whole scenario and why that particular thing happened. It was even known before he gave his formal report some time ago that the whole of a lot of the structures in East Delhi particularly are constructed on what used to be the floodplains of the Yamuna River. And the soil is essentially sandy. It has very poor load bearing capacity until you really go very deep and create very stable foundation structures. And the result is that when people only go for normal 3 to 4 feet of foundation and then start constructing, you are actually already starting with a situation of unsafe buildings. The estimate given in this report is based on some surveys which were also assisted by teams from the National Disaster Management Authority. About 70% of buildings in East Delhi are unsafe and prone to serious damage in the event of an earthquake event. 70%. And also because of these very high land prices in Delhi, we come across people saying, what do we do if we have to have additional built-up space for accommodating our families? A son gets married, he has to have a separate unit, some more children come into the family. So what they are doing is actually on unsafe foundations and even the load-bearing structures, they are raising further floors and further building spaces. These are all excellent recipes for disaster when the earthquake strikes. I think in 1962, a resolution was passed in the Delhi Municipal Authority at that time that for people living in the villages, because Delhi is constituted of about 365 revenue villages. Eventually more and more it got urbanized. But to give relief to people living in those villages who wanted to carry out some building construction, a circular was issued saying that they need not submit building plans for prior approval. Now the facility was intended to save them from the procedural hassle of submitting the building plans. It was wrongly interpreted by people in those villages that they can construct buildings without any reference to building bylaws and regulations. There is no height restriction, there is no safety issues, and it was a lot of a kind of free-for-all scenario which was happening. In 2006, I was asked to chair a committee on this whole question of ceilings and demolitions and illegal constructions in Delhi, because tough actions were being mandated by the Delhi High Court and Supreme Court for carrying out ceilings and demolitions. In that report, our committee unanimously stated that building bylaws must be uniformly enforced throughout the national capital, whether it's a village, whether it's a rural area. No construction activity should be allowed to be taken forward unless there is a proper sanctioned building plan. This is now the regulation enforced, and we found over the last few years that the effective enforcement of the building regulations, and this is what Dr. Shashidhar Reddy was also pointing out, was very weak. And in our 2006 report, we had said the municipal authorities have failed to regulate and to enforce the building bylaws effectively. Therefore, this responsibility should be essentially taken on by the executive wing of government, which means the divisional commissioners, the deputy commissioners, and the 27 subdivisional magistrates. was straight in the executive line authority of the administration. I'm happy to tell you that as of last year, these special task forces headed by respective sub-divisional magistrates, overseen by the respective line deputy commissioners, and finally by the divisional commissioner, Vijay Devji, who is also the Secretary of the State Disaster Management Authority, is now working effectively. They have all interagency coordination, and they have been given full assurance by the Commissioner of Police that whenever any enforcement measure has to be taken on ground, all required police support will be available. We have had review meetings of the effective working of the Special Task Force, STS. My sense is that this has made a tangible difference, positive difference, and actions are now being taken more effectively to ensure that illegal buildings and illegal construction do not keep on getting spread out throughout the city. Yesterday somebody came, I told on Wednesday, somebody came seeking a weapon license which had been refused to revolver. And we asked him, what do you do for a living? He said, I'm a building contractor. I said, when you agree to construct buildings, do you ask the person, your client, whether he has a sanctioned building plan? He said, no, I don't. Because he's concerned with getting paid and raising the building. I said, if you want the government to give you a revolver for your safety, you must also cooperate in more effective enforcement of our civic and building regulations. He says, sir, I am prepared to do it. I told the licensing authority, put down as a separate condition of his license, if he ever constructs a building without a proper sanctioned building plan, his revolver license will be withdrawn. So this is a very different way of trying to bring about better enforcement. We also have 24-hour visiting post. Anybody can actually report construction of some building which is happening. And particularly we have said that when people start digging basements, because we have had recently some disasters where people have built double basements, started building, and the foundation of the adjoining building has got weakened, and that building has two such instances, three have occurred that they were actually collapsed. We found in the master plan they had made a very actually unjustifiable change. Earlier they used to say that if you have to build a basement in your plot, you have to leave a 2-meter offset on all sides. You cannot take your basement all the way to the plot boundary. For some reason in this latest master plan this was withdrawn, probably to allow people to construct larger floor spaces. We have restored that. You cannot build a basement unless you leave 2-meter offsets on every side. This question came up, what do we do with so many unsafe buildings? I've had discussions with the Chief Secretary, and I've told him you must create an institutional and a policy framework to basically allow this retrofitting process to proceed, reconstruction. Firstly, the building should be surveyed, as Dr. Shashila Reddy ji was saying. Is it amenable to retrofitting at all? Will it become safe by some deepening of the foundation or creating some load-bearing columns and all? If it cannot be done and the engineering solution is not found through retrofitting, the building has to be pulled down and actually reconstructed. And what I have said to the Chief Secretary is he must create a dedicated institutional arrangement, maybe a disaster management building corporation or something. Vijay Devji, you take note of this. They must start carrying out reconstruction of such buildings, giving these people temporary accommodation, which we will be happy to assist from the DDA side because we have a number of flats which are coming up now with prefab and earthquake-proof technology in Delhi. Around 30,000 are currently being constructed by Shifting Construction. We can relocate them temporarily, but actually somebody should start building those structures. And what is normally done is we allow them additional FAR, floor area ratio, so they can build up more space. If it's 100 now, 200 is going to be allowed to 300, so 50% more. And when he therefore carries out the construction, he can create equal spaces for the families which have been dislocated, but also create additional floor area which can be sold in the market and he can get a revenue stream back. Now I can tell you, by translating a vision or an abstract solution in conceptual space, what we can do, and actually doing something, there's a big gap. A couple of years ago, I attended a lecture given by Mr. Muthuraman, the then managing director of Tata Steel, and he made a very good comment. He said, some leaders have very good vision competence. They can see the big picture, and project their minds and everything. Some people have architectural competence in which they can do something on ground, but they can't see the longer vision. He says we need people, both vision competence and a transnational competence to transfer that vision and convert it into ground reality. Now Indians, because we are intellectuals by God's endowment, we are intellectuals, and it's acknowledged globally now. We tend to solve problems in virtual space, conceptual space, deep ध्यान, meditation. वहाँ सारा हमारा कर्मों का हिसाब किताब पूरा हो गया. उसके बाद भी peace, शांति. उसके बाद whether something happens on ground or doesn't happen, ठीक होता रहेगा. Let the will of God prevail. But this is not the way. We have to actually translate solutions. Why we have excellent planning to look at our 5-year plans, our 12 plans, starting super plans, all social welfare, poverty removal, upgrading national infrastructure, housing, everything. You see the document seems like a Bible for utopia. But have we achieved utopia in the country? No. Why? Translational competence is lacking. As Shashida Reddy was saying, capacity building, detailed engineering knowledge, architectural knowledge, all this area of earthquake proofing. We all need to now get into the translational questions very, very seriously. Now I am personally convinced, if I had the authority to order institutional arrangements, I would do it within 1 month from today. Proper endowment, 500 crore rupee equity, to set up a national disaster management, retrofitting and reconstruction building corporation in Delhi. Straight away. We have adequate expertise which can be roped in. They are currently dispersed, spread out, people don't give them any consideration or value. Everybody, you see, there is supply which will respond to demand. You have a demand, supply comes. We have that competence. We have been in touch with the Indian Building Congress, who have also devised the codes for earthquake safety and all that part of the regulations. They are also embodied in civil laws today. But as I said, the whole question is how do we translate it into practical reality. So in my view, surveys can be done, you can say these buildings are unsafe, but then what? Are you going to wait until the earthquake actually strikes and the buildings fall, and we have so many people who will possibly lose their lives and limbs? We have a serious problem at hand. So in Delhi, I personally feel we have to take this forward in a very, very serious way. There are clear understandings that we have how to take it forward. And I even said for very poor people who don't have adequate funding, if they have to get into a retrofitted building, what do we do? Because retrofitting is possible. In my view, we will give them 50%, 60% subsidy, depending on their income level. If there is greater affordability in terms of personal income, less subsidy. Lower affordability, more subsidy. Have a graduated scheme. Yes, if it costs you 5 lakhs to retrofit your building, in some cases government will give 80% subsidy. Get it done. In 1997, when we decided to move the auto rickshaws to the CNG mode, I was also lieutenant governor at that time, and we had a scheme that the kit for changing over from diesel fuel to CNG fuel cost about 36,000 rupees. We launched a scheme of 18,000 rupees to every auto rickshaw driver conversion, and it got done. Every auto rickshaw today works on CNG. So things can be done. Directly Dr. Shashida Reddy again said that we need to create public awareness. People should also feel that they have to do something if that risk is to be avoided, mitigated, and then overcome. I think the referred at general drills and basically sirens being sounded and people are coming out are steps in that direction. But I was told by a colleague from the Foreign Service when he was renting out flats in Japan, as soon as he was going to enter the building, the caretaker said, "Sir, I would like to give you a briefing on all safety measures for this building." Called him, gave him a half an hour, 45-minute briefing. These are the stairs, in case of fire, this is what we do. In case of earthquake, this is what we do. All kinds of briefing. Only then he was allowed to enter the building and enter his stand. As you said, this disaster preparedness comes into a very much kind of interactive mode, and people reinforce each other's knowledge areas, understanding, awareness, and then will to translate it into practical actions. So, even though the scene in Delhi is something which we need to be very concerned about, I feel that it's just not highlighting the concern at a seminar and saying that yes, we have a problem. The whole thing is a doctor only, patient comes to a doctor and he says, yes, you have a problem, you have such and such ailment. And the doctor does nothing to actually treat that ailment. He is not doing his duty. So I think people in administration, like myself and like my colleagues, if we have a problem which has been flagged and listed out, we always have to get practical and do something about it. I can only assure you that we are aware of it. We are trying to move ahead. Of course, I'm trying to warmly thank Dr. Shashidhar Reddy for the support he is extending from the NDMSI, special training program that he has organized for our engineers from the state bodies. And this has to be a huge cooperative effort. And I would say that in this audit, there is any person who has an entrepreneurial capacity and wants to really come into this space of reconstruction and retrofitting of unsafe buildings, I think there's a huge entrepreneurial opportunity waiting. But if somebody prepared to come up and say, yes, I'm prepared to do it. I remember when I was just at least 4 years ago, I was writing lectures with the Garment District Corporation. We are got into the green revolution. We started this for our tractors. It became a great success in agricultural tractor manufacturing. The second thing we wanted to do was to set up a fertilizer plant. I came to Dr. M.S. Pathak, who was in the director of Engineers India, brother of Mr. G.S. Pathak, the Chief Justice of the Indian Supreme Court. He had an American person from Kellogg Corporation, and he said, we are very keen to set up a fertilizer unit, ammonia India in Punjab. You know what he asked me? He said, Mr. Managing Director, I'm very happy to welcome you, give you a cup of coffee. There's a fellow from USA. Show me the man who will be a project officer, project manager, and will deliver that project on ground. Then I'll tell you whether Kellogg Corporation is willing to cooperate with you and give you the technical know-how. Show me the man, all resources will follow. So we are all sitting here, not a question only of virtual space solutions. Let us have people from our great country who stand up, put their chest out. There's so many brilliant soldiers from the army and people in uniform as well. Yes, we are prepared to become chief executives. We will put 500 crores to the inclusion and start an institution. Thank you.